Hello everyone, Pineaaronapple here. And after over a year of waiting, the first episode of Doctor Who's 60th anniversary specials arrives, just after a divisive Children in Need special. The Star Beast is a story adapted from the Doctor Who magazine comic of the same name, by Pat Mills and Dave Gibbons. And with the episode, along with the other two, being written by Russell T Davies himself, this also is set to be the return of not only David Tennant, Catherine Tate, and Donna's family, but is also the first Disney-funded episode, meaning a larger budget. So let's see if it makes the best of it as we head into The Star Beast. This episode starts with an exposition dump, courtesy of Donna and 14, which was probably appreciated, but the way it was shot just feels a little silly to me. 14 standing in space there, Rose Noble looking a bit awkward, and Donna staring at us. And this shot of 14, which almost makes me laugh with how out of place and strangely shot it feels. But after that, we get a new title sequence. One I'm not sure will stay on till Series 14, or as they're calling it, the new Series 1, but for consistency's sake, Series 14. And it looks fantastic. The colours mesh together well, and the sense of scale is like something we haven't seen before in the show's titles. It's also nice to see the TARDIS travelling in multiple directions, not just up and down a tube and some clocks. 14 lands in a back street in London and swaggers out, taking in the sights before getting jump-scared by a wild Donna Noble, who he attempts to help but is scared away by seeing her. But fearing her wrath, comes back to assist once again. A good bit comedically, but logically she doesn't seem to think he's being as weird as he really is. But the combo of Donna and her now screaming Rose to call her daughter confuses the Doctor to hilarious effect. Let's talk about the three actors we've seen so far. David Tennant obviously returns as the Doctor, this time being number 14. Like 10, but a little bit different. And I honestly have no problem with in this episode. And the same can be said with Catherine Tate as Donna. Although some of the writing and plot points I do have an issue with, but we can talk about that later. But the support she shows for her family is a great new way to emphasise her character, as we have seen the Nobles before, but not as much as a cohesive unit as they are now. Then there is Yasmin Finney as Rose, and she does a great job. She shares a plot issue with Donna, as I said, but her acting is great alongside most of the dialogue. And being a trans actor playing a trans character is used to great effect within the story itself, for the most part. This not coming off as a diversity hire, as many critics may want you to believe, but as a story that both the writer and actress wanted to tell. Just as Donna refuses to look away, a spaceship crashes in clear view of everyone, them all having their phones out, and the Doctor leaves to investigate, just so happening to run into Sean, Donna's husband, once again played by Carl Collins, and commandeering a ride in his taxi with a fun reference to 13 and an Alonzi.
And that's Alonzi?
14 fishes for info on Donna by claiming to be a friend of Neris. A lovely callback, but we get a reiteration of what we learned in The End of Time, and that the lottery money she got was mostly given away to charity. Something the pre-Dr. Donna may not have done. But for a character with such a short role in The End of Time, and honestly, not a lot to do when he is there, Sean is great. And much like Donna, the emphasis on family with his character just makes him really pleasant to have on screen. On sight of the crash, Unit detained two members of the press, and after seeing behind-the-scenes shots of Unit protesters for a future episode, this may be a hint of them getting a little totalitarian. But I do like how this is a slight return to form for Davies, as his record the screenshots were well known throughout Series 1 to 4. And at least we have the upgrade of direct feed this time, even if the cameraman seemingly disappears. The Doctor sneaks in, and this is where I got my first realisation of just how good this episode looks. It's mostly thanks to the director, Rachel Talalay and Russell, but I'm sure that the Disney money is giving them a real boost, and I hope the future of the show looks as great as this does. 14 sneaking around and listening is a pretty good scene, and we meet another new character removed from the Unit grunts, Shirley Ann Bingham, played by Ruth Madley, who is a very fun character, being Unit's new scientific advisor. And Russell has said recently he was focusing on the good portrayal of differently abled actors, such as wheelchair users, Admittedly, I was a little worried Shirley would be shot in an obnoxiously perfect way, but the character is very fun, and Ruth Madeley's charisma and screen presence are really striking. She appears to be in the giggle, but I would love to see more of her beyond that. Shirley finds out that the ship was not about to crash, but in fact purposefully landed. Meanwhile, Rose and Donna make their way home, and Rose is accosted by some dickheads on bikes. And the use of the scene is pretty well acted emotionally. Rose is slightly stoic and refuses to let their transphobia affect her, and Donna declares war, ready to kill some children. Their relationship as a parent who will do anything to make the child happy is a fantastic through line in the story. And as they head inside, we get some more of it, Sylvia making an appearance, played again by Jacqueline King. Sylvia is quite insistent that Donna knows aliens aren't real, and Rose heads to her little private shed. Sylvia shows a very real and relatable moment as she fusses over using the wrong words to refer to Rose and slips up a little. To someone unconnected, it may not feel like a big deal, but the fact that this is an older member of Rose's family doing this is heartwarming, and is topped off well as Donna not so subtly jabs that she wished she got that much attention from her mum. Sylvia makes a reference that confuses me to no end, and they sit down as Donna remembers Wilf. And we get some info on what the memory wipe looked like from her perspective. And while the music accompanies, the performance really makes this scene. Rose runs into a neighbourhood friend, Fudge, played by Dara Lal, who I think may be the only human character to be in both this version of the story and the original comic. They find a piece of the ship, an escape pod, and as Rose attempts to retrieve her phone, she runs into Beep the Meep, played by Miriam Margolyes, who plays the part now, and a side we will see later, with excellence and real passion. Also, both the prosthetics and CGI details on Beep are excellent. Little details like the eye and ear movement are such minute attentions to detail that add a lot of personality. Adding on to the actor under the prosthetics, Meep mentions monsters hunting him, and we are promptly shown the Wrath Warriors, who scare Fudge away, but leave him to hunt Beep. These prosthetics are even more intricate than Beep's, and although they look a little silly in the wrong lighting, the stilts and prosthetics are impressive. And with such little facial structure, it's interesting how much character can be shown with just their voice and physical movement. 14 uses his screwdriver to draw a perfectly rectangular screen to examine the ship and properly meets Shirley in a nice introduction. These two banter pretty well off each other. 14 exposits his facial situation concerning Shirley, and they discuss Donna. Shirley ends up sending some troops to pick up the pod, sending the Doctor along with them. Back in the factory, she gets a great line and sends a platoon up into the ship, only for them to be infected with some sort of energy, done with good-looking effects. Rose is with Beep in her shed, as Beep does all they can to look as cute as possible. And the way that Rose relates to Beep is a good idea, and she pulls it off well. But that's before Donna comes in and freaks out about Beep. The soldiers arrive at the same time, 14 trying to get in as Sylvia simultaneously tries to ward him off and to convince Donna the Meep doesn't exist, smacking the Doctor, and this insanity is quite well used, but the best bit would be the ending when Sean turns up to deliver this line with Sylvia. A great delivery, and a little bit of subversion, as this was the shot I was sure we were going to get a shock faint or something as he sees the alien, but I like this outcome better.
Something smells nice.
Tuna Madras. Meep Meep.
Major Singh's unit team around the pod is sent away by the infected troops, who are also after the Meep. Donna has a little freak out, and we get a fake out where we think Wilf died for a sec, which I didn't appreciate, but it just turns out he's in a home courtesy of Kate Stewart, so that's okay. Rose points out we don't actually know the Meep's pronouns or gender, and the blunt delivery of this, while fitting with Rose's character not wanting to make the Meep uncomfortable, it does stick out, and would be much smoother if maybe it was rewritten so perhaps the Doctor himself said something like, "He, oh, are you? I don't know," etc., etc. It would have fit the Doctor's erratic personality of forgetting to ask personal details early in meeting someone, and felt more like it was personal growth and not him being told off. As, to be fair, if I found this thing in my backyard, I would have asked it for its gender, because how are you supposed to tell? I proudly proclaim that I know nothing of Meep sex.
Tonight the music seems so loud. I wish that we could lose this crowd.
Either way, the definite article is a ridiculous pronoun, and I'm pretty sure Beep is transphobic, so I'ma just say he or they for consistency's sake. Since all years before this episode he was referred to as such. Beep says the Wrath Warriors are after his fur, and after Sylvia waffles some more, both the infected soldiers and the Wrath attack the house, with some pretty good practical effects. It's at this point 14 uses the Sonic to draw force fields, and while this is creative, I agree that this is just reaching the point where the Sonic turns from multi-purpose tool to a whatever the plot needs it to be cop-out. But it does look cool and allows them to get up to the stairs. The plan being to get from the attic to attic to reach Sean's car down the street. Once upstairs, they are intercepted by Flying Wrath. The CGI does look just a sliver dodgy, but I like the idea and execution of their flight pretty well. And I really appreciate the detail you can see on the suits, like they're almost cloven-looking feet. With a nice reference to the Doctor Dancers and Bob the Builder, the gang...
Hi, and team. Oh, I was going to say team. Gang. Comrades.
make their way through the attics, and a sleeping bloke as Captain Singh and his unpossessed unit are stuck in a three-way battle with the possessed unit and the Wrath. Although I am surprised at the lack of non-vehicle property damage. They make it to the taxi and narrowly escape, the Wrath bolts doing no good against the car, something I would criticise if not for knowing what happens next. And surprisingly, Sylvia shows some genuine gratitude, and they make their way to an underground parking lot. The Doctor takes from the Stones of Blood and starts judiciary proceedings, intercepting a Wrath teleport and turning the lot into a faux court. By article of the Shadow Proclamation, a good piece of continuity. It's a good scene and does well to spell out the hints we've gotten so far, and the two Wrath Warriors are fun for the limited time they were on screen. This is also where we get the background exposition. On the Meep's homeworld, the sun is sentient and went mad, turning the Meep race evil, and Beep is the final one remaining, and happens to be their leader, the worst of all, proven when he pulls a fucking laser out of his ass and kills the warriors, allowing the soldiers infected with the light that is actually from the psychedelic sun to surround our heroes. And after 14 demonstrates their importance with some comedic movement, he's knocked out and wakes up with the family in the back of a military transport. Beep's mania really is sold by Miriam's performance. She must have had a lot of fun with it. Donna laments the situation and questions the Doctor, making the right point that Sylvia clearly knows who he is. And Donna makes a good speech about giving away the money, once again giving a good show of how she's changed, even if she doesn't realise it. Although it's a little strange when she says,
Just felt like the sort of thing he would do.
and no one brings her up on it. A nice line, but a little out of place, and not even Rose seems to care. They arrive at the metal works to see the ship nearly repaired, explaining why the ship landed in the scrapyard, and we get the inspired visual of Beep reigning over them all on a little pocket version of the Game of Thrones throne. We finally get an explanation as to what the double-bladed dagger drive the Doctor mentioned is, and what it does is fuel the ship by digging down and destroying the surroundings. Meaning London, boom. Beep has the prisoners held in the basement, even though I'm pretty sure the line was take the prisoners on board, but Shirley comes to the rescue with her James Bond chair. This is also a fun piece of continuity, as when the brig got older and needed a cane, he also turned it into a weapon.
I warned you!
I always suspected that Major Kilburn was a slimy creep.
14 takes off and the family escape. Only Donna says her goodbyes and locks herself inside to go and help the Doctor, thanks to her subconscious feelings. and Sylvia gets a good little moment, taking charge and leading Rose away to safety. 14 starts to meddle around in the ship with Donna as they are trapped. And the set is pretty good. Although, I can't for the life of me figure out why the shutter that comes down to trap them could exist on a ship where the functionality of it is taken into account. Beep starts the ship and deadlocks the controls, and 14 madly dashes from side to side as the shutter closes. 14 tries to do it without Donna, but the dagger drive starts ripping apart London, as we see thanks to some good aerial shots and some fudge POV. But they run out of time, meaning the Doctor has to decide to let Donna's memories out. The performances are great, and although I find 14 activating Donna like the Winter Soldier a bit silly and not in the good way, the script and performances are top-notch. Even the revamped music adds to the scene immensely. A fantastic moment that knows where to hit you. They stop the ship, leaving Donna to die in 14's arms, another greatly acted moment. But as they save the day and the dagger drive reverses, the rivers of fire in the street just sort of close up. It doesn't ruin the resolution, but isn't the only negative point to give it, as after this, until the closing goodbyes and such, to lead into the next episode, the end of the climax bounces from good things to bad things like a tennis ball. The next good thing is that the possessed soldiers come to kill 14, Donna wakes up, and the psychedelic sun is purged thanks to a meta-crisis Rose. Brought to us by these regeneration energy effects that look like they put all the effort into making Yasmin Finney look good, while Donna looked like she had the Time Lord equivalent of a rough night out. This happens because due to the amount of power in the meta-crisis, some of it got passed down to Rose, and the hints that are retroactively explained are honestly clever and well thought out. Rose's shed is her memory of a TARDIS, the name she picked was related to them, and the toys she makes are references to aliens. Her stating that now that part of her is unlocked, she finally feels like herself, which is a good feel-good note for the character. They also make a point I've seen idiots disagree with for a while now, that the Doctor is kind of beyond gender. For someone who can so easily switch from male to female, and could literally regenerate into anything, of course gender doesn't matter. As 12 said,
"We're the most civilized civilization in the universe. We're billions of years beyond your petty human obsession with gender and its associated stereotypes."
Although I'm not sure it fits well in that moment or is explained very clearly, it's nice for me to see my argument won, and I'm sure it made some people somewhere feel better about themselves. 14 finally has a proper good moment with Sylvia as they all celebrate the victory. Shirley getting a fucking strange line.
There's a word for you, Doctor, and that word is jammy.
So, I have no idea what to say about that.
Jam on toast.
And 14 ejects Meep in a nice light-hearted fashion, only to be parachuted down for the raft to collect. Beep gives a hint as to a future enemy, referencing their boss, and we get the last negative point of the episode. You see, the meta-crisis energy is still affecting Donna and Rose, so they have to do something about it. So their brilliant plan is to let it go. Not only does that devalue the ending of Journey's End, as why didn't she just let it go then, unless she wanted to die? But while doing this, she insults 14 for being a man? Even though he was a woman how long ago?
Just passing by, because I got a bit lost. It's funny. 60 minutes ago, I was this really brilliant woman.
As Rose insinuates, they know everything and are better for being women. So not only is this cheap and insulting a whole gender of people, it also ruins the whole point they made a minute ago that gender doesn't matter. Admittedly, that would be a broad interpretation of the gender scene before, as I'm sure many things can be drawn from the binary-non-binary scene. But either way you slice it, this part of the ending feels like Russell couldn't be bothered and handed it down to an intern, even if we do get these fun shots of Shirley and Sean. Everyone arrives back at the TARDIS, and 14 explains the unit will fund Donna's home damages. Rose wants to see inside, but Donna remembers what happened when Martha came aboard, but after some coaxing, Donna and 14 go to see Wilf. After a fun banter with Sean, they get inside and we see the new interior console room. And it's bloody fantastic. Honestly, I love it. We can clearly see where all the other rooms are, the ramp's creative but not too crazy, and the lighting is fantastic. We don't get too good a look at the console itself, as Ford interacts with it until it makes Donna a coffee, and the spillage of said coffee blows them half up, ending the episode, but the little banter they have before it is nice, and it gives me a grin to see 14 having a mad dash around the room. So, that was the Star Beast. Clearly it had its problems, like the ending trying its best to undo any good messaging the story had, and a little lapse in logic, but the rest of the episode was pretty stellar. The remaking of a comic story was interesting, and the new versions of its characters, like Beep, were handled brilliantly. The returning characters are all pretty much better than they were, and it's nice to see Sean get some real character exploration, as he really felt like background dressing to me in The End of Time. Rose was a nice addition, although I can see people getting mad at the existence of a trans person here, for one bigoted reason or another, but for the most part her being so is either used as a nice message or relegated to a background detail, thereby making the character feel real, not like some characters whose only known personality trait is taken up by their gender identity. Like some characters of different identities from the norm occasionally are written as. Donna and 14 are both fantastic, as good as before while bringing new elements, and while I didn't know what to expect from Shirley's character, I do want to see more of her, and presumably we will in The Giggle, and hopefully beyond like I said before. I'll give the first episode of Doctor Who's 60th anniversary, The Star Beast, written by Russell T Davies and inspired by Pat Mills and Dave Gibbons, a cool 8 out of 10. Thank you everybody for watching my review of The Star Beast, and I can't wait for next week's video, as it will obviously be the next Doctor Who episode. As we all know, I'm a big Doctor Who nerd. Please like the video if you liked it, comment down below if you had your own opinion of the episode, or you'd like to comment something for me to review after Doctor Who's finished. And consider subscribing to the channel, and if you do, ring that notification bell so you are told every single time I make an upload. As I said, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!
Toast. A little piece of toast. Because there's so much to choose from. There's brown bread, white bread, all sorts of wholemeal bread. It comes in funny packages with writing on the side.